I matched with Adrian during that weird stretch of post-breakup boredom when you tell yourself you're just looking for a rebound, but secretly hope for a miracle. He was tall, tattooed, and honestly, just too hot for a dating app. The kind of guy who makes you triple-check his photos to see if you're being catfished. But no, his IG was real, and our first conversation was effortless. Witty, flirty, just the right amount of cocky. He FaceTimed me the second day we matched, said he didn't want to waste time typing into the void. I should have taken that as a red flag. Instead, I was impressed. That Friday, he picked me up in his stupidly clean Dodge Charger with a tiny bouquet of grocery store flowers in hand. I was immediately sold. We had rooftop drinks downtown. He asked a million questions about my job, my hobbies, my ex. I remember thinking, damn, he actually listens. The first kiss happened in the parking garage. I don't know what possessed me, but I invited him in afterward. I wasn't planning on sleeping with him, just figured he could hang out a bit. He ended up staying the night, on the couch, but left before I even woke up. No weird vibes. If anything, I remember feeling proud for taking it slow. Except, that wouldn't be the last time Adrian was in my apartment. And not because I invited him. 3 days later, I noticed something strange. My bathroom trash had been emptied. Not just moved, emptied. But I hadn't taken it out. Then a mug from the top shelf was sitting by the sink, even though I only drink from tumblers. The next morning, I found one of my drawers slightly open, the one with my old journals and expired passports. I told myself I was just tired. Maybe I forgot. Maybe I was being paranoid. Until I got the Snapchat. The account had no name, just a bitmoji of a guy with messy hair. The photo was of me, from behind, in my own apartment, doing dishes in my oversized hoodie. The angle was low, as if taken from the gap in the curtains. No message, just the photo. I stood there for a full minute, staring at it, waiting for my brain to make it make sense. I blocked the account and tried to convince myself it was a coincidence. Maybe someone sent it to the wrong person. Maybe it was an old photo. But I couldn't shake the sinking feeling in my gut. I triple-locked my door that night and left the light on. 2 weeks of silence. Then Adrian DM'd me out of nowhere. "You ghosted me." I replied, dry as hell. Didn't feel a vibe. He heart reacted. No other messages. The next day, he liked every single one of my Instagram photos, even the ones from 2016. I switched my account to private. He followed my friend Aaron, who I hadn't tagged in anything since high school. Then came the comments. "Miss this smile. Might come say hi soon." My heart sank. I deleted the comment, blocked his account, and called Aaron, warning her. She'd never even heard of him. He'd just followed her with no message. I felt sick. That weekend, I came home late from my bar shift and found a rose on my doorstep. One of the same kind he brought on our first date, grocery store flowers wrapped in a rubber band. There was no note, just the rose. I took a picture, threw it out, and stayed up the entire night watching YouTube videos about stalkers and hidden cameras. The next day, I went to the leasing office and asked if they could check maintenance records. See if anyone had accessed my apartment. They looked at me like I was crazy. "You're the only one with a registered key, ma'am." I asked about camera footage in the hallway. They said the system had been down for months. Perfect. That night, I sat on my bed and stared at the door, daring it to creak. It didn't. But around 3:40 a.m., my smoke alarm went off. It wasn't the chirp of a dying battery. It was full-blown siren mode. I jumped up, heart in my throat, and ran through the apartment. No smoke, no fire, no burning food. But when I opened the coat closet, I found it. A still-smoking cigarette, wedged upright in one of my ceramic mugs. Ash had burned through a paper napkin below it, but hadn't caught flame, just sat there, waiting, like someone wanted it to catch, but not too fast. I called the cops. They found no fingerprints, no forced entry, just the mug, the napkin, and the cigarette butt, still warm. When they checked the lock, One of the officers knelt down and pulled something out with needle-nose pliers. A tiny universal blank key, filed smooth, unmarked. The kind used by maintenance workers, or someone with access, or someone who had 20 quiet minutes alone in your apartment to mold one with wax and a lighter. Someone like Adrian. I stayed at Erin's that week. She was the only one I told everything. The Snapchat, the drawer, the rose, the cigarette. I think he's been inside, I whispered. Like, more than once. We cried together. She made me promise to go to the police again, to file a real report, not just a scared girl call in the middle of the night. They assigned a detective this time, took photos, made notes, promised to investigate. But there wasn't enough. No name on the key. No proof it was Adrian. Just my gut. My fear. My friend's word. A few days later, I got one last text from a new number. It was a prank. You freaked out for no reason. I turned my phone off. Permanently. Switched carriers the next day. I moved out within the month. New building. New locks. No social media. To this day, I don't use dating apps. Can't even look at Bumble's icon without feeling queasy. I've checked under my bed every night for 2 years. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if that cigarette caught fire, or if I hadn't gotten home when I did. Other times, I wonder if he ever actually left. If you told me a year ago that I'd be back on dating apps after my divorce, I'd have laughed in your face while crying into a pile of laundry. I was broke. I was burned out. I was working overnight shifts at a 24-hour diner in Spring Hill, barely scraping rent for a one-bedroom that should have been condemned. My life was beige, no color, just survival. One night, during a lull between coffee refills and scrubbing syrup off the counter, I caved. I re-downloaded Tinder. Why not, right? After the usual lineup of shirtless gym bros, anime profile pics, and dudes holding fish, I matched with this guy named Leo. He was younger than me by a few years, which normally would have been a red flag, but his profile gave me pause. He looked like the kind of guy who has life figured out. Pics in front of private jets, crisp button-downs in big cities, and this goofy, genuine smile in every shot that made him seem less intense, like maybe he just happened to have a rich uncle or something. I swiped right. The next morning, I woke up to a, "Hey," basic, lazy, kinda annoying. But I replied. We texted for a week, light stuff, surface-level banter. He was awkward, but not in a red flag way. More like in a hasn't been on a real date in a while way. Eventually, Leo asked me to dinner. He picked the place. It was one of those tiny upscale Italian spots I'd only ever passed by because my bank account would start crying. I put on my "this is the nicest thing I own" dress and showed up hoping he'd at least be decent. He looked great. Not overdressed, not fake, just polished. Conversation wasn't amazing, but it wasn't awkward either. He laughed at my dumb jokes, asked questions, paid for dinner without a flinch. I was relieved, impressed even. After that, we started going out more. And every time we did, he escalated. River cruise, high-end steakhouse, designer shopping. I Googled some of the stuff later, and the numbers made my stomach twist. Thousands of dollars. And we weren't even official. Not even close. Part of me loved the attention. The luxury. I'd been scraping pennies for years, and suddenly, I was being wined and dined like some celebrity girlfriend. But deep down, it felt off. One night, he invited me on a full Cancun getaway. Flights, resort, the works. And that was it. That's when my gut finally screamed loud enough for me to hear. I wasn't ready. It felt rushed. Transactional. Like he was buttering me up for something I couldn't see yet. So I texted him and said I didn't think we should keep seeing each other, tried to be honest and kind. He called me 10 seconds later. I picked up, thinking maybe we'd have a mature convo. Nope. He exploded, full, unfiltered. Rage. Screaming, swearing, calling me names I wouldn't even repeat in my nightmares. Said I used him, said I was a manipulative leech, said I'd pay for wasting his time. I sat there with the phone to my ear, completely frozen. When I finally snapped out of it, I hung up and turned my phone off. I couldn't sleep. Every creak in my apartment made my skin crawl. He'd been to my place before. He knew where I lived. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. It lit up like a Christmas tree on fire. 50+ missed calls, dozens of texts, all hate, all threats, some of them detailed. I blocked him, deleted the app, took the bus to work, eyes darting at every passing car. That night, after my shift, I got home around 1 a.m. And the second I reached my door, I knew something was wrong. My apartment door, wide open. I always triple check it, always. I stepped inside, whispering, "Hello?" Like a horror movie extra. Nothing looked stolen. Nothing looked moved. Until I got to my bedroom. Right in the middle of my bed. A piece of paper. Just one. Folded once. No envelope. Written in black Sharpie, all caps. "You're dead." That was it. No signature. No context. Just a death sentence scrawled like a grocery list. I didn't grab anything. I didn't even lock the door behind me. I just ran. All the way across town to my best friend Cassie's place. We called the police from her living room. And to their credit, they took it seriously. Between my statement, his texts and voicemails, and the note, I gave them everything. Turns out Leo wasn't some successful entrepreneur. He was broke, maxed out credit cards, living off borrowed time. Everything he spent on me was fake. Credit, image. He was playing a long con, buttering me up until I trusted him enough to say yes to a big ask. I think I got out just in time, before I became another Netflix documentary. I moved 2 months later, changed my number, nuked every social account I had, and I haven't touched a dating app since. So I met Ryan on Bumble, which I already know, but I was bored, newly single, and he was the first guy in a while who didn't make me want to delete the app 5 minutes after matching. He seemed normal. Better than normal, actually. Funny, confident, not overly obsessed with fitness or crypto. We FaceTimed twice, and he always called when he said he would. No love bombing, no weird pet names, just chill. Our first date? Classic. Coffee shop. Sat outside. We laughed so hard the barista told us we were good for business. It felt easy. Safe. The kind of safe that makes you forget how fast things can flip. By the second week, we were texting nonstop and seeing each other every few days. He started doing thoughtful little things. Playlists, memes, checking in after my work shifts. He even brought me soup when I caught a nasty cold. My best friend Olivia said he gave her good vibes, which at the time felt like the ultimate green flag. I let my guard down. And that's when it started. It was subtle at first. Ryan would make these weird jokes about how sketchy dating apps are. Like, what if I was secretly a serial killer? Wouldn't it be funny if this all turned into a horror movie? I laughed it off. We both loved true crime, so I figured he was just leaning into the bit. But the comments didn't stop. They got weirder. "You trust me fast, that's rare. Kinda dangerous. No one would know if you disappeared for a few days, right? I mean, you told me you live alone." Still, I brushed it off, because he never acted creepy. He opened doors, texted good morning, showed up on time. My therapist even said he sounded emotionally available, which in LA is basically a unicorn. So when Ryan suggested a little day trip up north, just us, off the grid, cute road trip vibes, I said yes. We planned to hike near a lake about 2 hours outside the city. The night before, he sent me a full itinerary. Gas station meetup, coffee stop, then a trail he said he used to hike with his dad. He picked me up in his truck at 7:42 a.m. sharp, with a thermos of my favorite oat milk latte and a pack of blueberry muffins. We were maybe 40 minutes into the drive when I realized I had zero service. I joked about it. He didn't. He just looked at me and smiled and said, "That's the point." We turned off the highway onto a dirt road so rough I thought my kidneys were gonna vibrate loose. At first, it was fine. Forested. Quiet. Then it just kept going. Like, we were still driving 25 minutes later, and the road hadn't widened. No trailhead. No markers. Just trees getting thicker and sky getting darker with clouds. I asked if we were close. He said, "Almost there." Then added, "Don't worry, you're not gonna die." And he laughed. But it was this weird, delayed laugh, like he had to remind himself how to sound normal. My stomach twisted, but I didn't say anything. Because what was I gonna do? Jump out in the middle of nowhere? We finally parked in a small clearing. No signage, no other cars. Just tall trees and a cold breeze that made my arms prickle. He told me the trail was just up ahead. I grabbed my water bottle and followed him, crunching leaves underfoot and trying to slow my heartbeat. About 15 minutes in, the trees opened up into a flat, grassy patch that looked nothing like a hiking trail. Ryan stopped walking. I kept going a few steps ahead, confused. "Wait," he said. "Look." He was holding something. A phone. My phone. I hadn't even noticed it was missing. He must have taken it from the cup holder. I stared at him, confused, until he smiled again, that same off-kilter smile, and said, "This is the part where you run." I thought he was joking, for half a second, until he pocketed my phone and started walking toward me, slowly, like it was a game, like he was enjoying it. I turned and ran. No trail, no clue where I was going, just branches whipping my face and the sound of twigs snapping behind me. I tripped, of course I tripped, landed hard on my knee and rolled down a little slope, landing in mud. I heard him calling after me. "That was fast. You ever run track?" His voice was closer than it should have been. I dragged myself to my feet and kept going, half limping, praying for a road or a cabin or anything. Eventually, I spotted something silver through the trees, a fence. I beelined toward it, collapsed against the chain link, and started screaming. It was some kind of forestry ranger station, locked and empty, but there was a motion-activated camera outside. I started waving like a maniac, hoping someone would see. I turned around. Ryan was standing about 30 feet back, just watching, hands in pockets, not moving, not saying anything. After what felt like an hour but was probably 5 minutes, he turned and disappeared into the woods. I waited another hour, then another. Eventually, an older couple pulled up in a muddy Subaru. They were bird watchers. I told them everything. They gave me a sweatshirt, a protein bar, and their phone. I called Olivia, sobbing. Later that night, we called the police. They found my phone 3 miles from where I'd dropped it, in a shallow stream, still logged into Bumble. His profile? Deleted. Phone number? Disconnected. It was like he'd vanished. They still don't know his real name. Now, I carry pepper spray and a tactical pen. I double-check the back seat of every Uber. I never go anywhere without sharing my location. And I never, ever, go off-grid with a man I met on an app. Because I'll never forget the last thing Ryan said before he disappeared into the woods. "You're lucky I liked you." I'll admit it. I've been lonely. After 2 years of working from home and back-to-back situationships that ended with me watching Love is Blind and ugly crying into a burrito, I finally gave in and downloaded Hinge again. That's how I met Ava. She had this artsy, effortlessly hot vibe in her pics. Vintage leather jacket, bold eyeliner, dog-eared books in the background. Her bio said she was a film editor who loves thunderstorms, old horror movies, and sushi. It read like someone had reverse-engineered my dream girl. I was skeptical, but curious. I messaged first. Something about The Thing being overrated. She replied with a full paragraph defending John Carpenter like it was a dissertation. I was hooked. Our convo was fast and funny. No awkward small talk, no weird gaps. Within 2 days, we were texting nonstop. She sent photos of her dog, playlists of moody indie music, even voice notes. And those voice notes, man. She had this raspy, sleepy-sounding voice that gave me goosebumps. By day 5, we were talking about meeting. She suggested sushi, of course, and said she knew a spot in her neighborhood near East Hollywood. The place had 5 stars, neon signs, and a sake bar that made the menu look like a chemistry textbook. I offered to pick her up, but she said she'd meet me there. No big deal. She showed up in a black turtleneck, silver hoop earrings, and messy hair that somehow looked perfect. In person, she was even better than her photos. Chill, clever, sarcastic in that quiet way that makes you want to earn every laugh. The date flew by. We joked about how awkward dating is, shared tempura, and traded horror movie hot takes like it was a sport. At one point, I said something dumb, like, "Wow, you're exactly who you said you were." She laughed, a little too long, and said, "You'd be surprised how often that's not true." That line would haunt me later. After that night, we were in full dating mode. She never wanted to meet at her place, always mine or public spots. I figured she had roommates, or maybe her apartment was messy. No biggie. But she always had an excuse. Couldn't FaceTime because her Wi-Fi was trash. Couldn't call because she was editing footage. Couldn't hang last minute because her dog was sick again. One night, while she was over at my apartment, I offered to grab us ice cream from the bodega across the street. When I got back, maybe 5 minutes later, she was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. But my laptop was closed. Weird, because I'd left it open with Spotify still playing. When I asked her if the music stopped or something, she said, "Nope, it was quiet the whole time." That didn't sit right with me. I let it go. But I started noticing more things. She never talked about work specifics. Couldn't remember movie release dates or director names, even though she swore she was a film geek. Her photos stopped being recent. Same dog, same 3 mirror selfies, nothing new for weeks. Then, the weirdest thing happened. I got a text from a number I didn't know. "Just a heads up. Be careful. She's done this before." I thought it was spam at first, but it had her name in it. I replied with one word. "Who?" No answer. I showed Ava the message that night. She went pale, dead silent, then launched into a speech about a crazy ex who was stalking her and trying to ruin her life. I wanted to believe her, so I did. That was mistake 1. A week later, Ava showed up at my place unannounced. I was mid-Zoom call for work, confused as hell. She said she was in the neighborhood and just missed me. That night, I noticed one of my drawers had been left open. Then the next morning, my email had 3 failed login attempts. Then I got locked out of my bank app. Still, I didn't connect it to her. Until the night I found a flash drive on my desk that wasn't mine. It was unlabeled, plugged it in. It had screenshots of messages. From me to her, but edited, twisted. Like she was building a narrative that I was stalking her. One folder was labeled Backup Plan, another, Timeline VE2. That was mistake 2. I didn't kick her out that night. I just sat there trying to figure out who I was actually dating. The final straw came on a Tuesday. She said she had a late work meeting. I felt off, so I drove by the sushi place she loved. Her car was there, so I waited. 10 minutes later, she came out, holding hands with another guy. She kissed him on the cheek. I didn't confront her. I just sat there in my car, gripping the steering wheel, trying not to black out from the pure rage. I went home, changed all my passwords, backed up every message, and blocked her on everything. The next day, my landlord said someone had been asking questions about me around the building. Ava was never her real name. Turns out she'd done this before. Multiple aliases, multiple dating app accounts. She'd even crashed a guy's company Slack pretending to be HR. She builds personas, latches on, collects data, then vanishes. I still don't know what her endgame was with me. Maybe it was all just a game. All I know is this. You never really know who you're talking to on those apps. Even when it feels good. Especially when it feels too good. Because sometimes, the red flags aren't loud. Sometimes, they wear hoop earrings and make you playlists. 2 years ago, out of pure boredom, I downloaded Tinder. I wasn't expecting much. Maybe some awkward convos, maybe a half-decent date. At worst, a funny story. Instead, I almost got killed. It started normal enough. I matched with this girl named Rachel. She was 23, lived like 10 minutes from me, and had that effortlessly cute librarian next door look. Nothing overly filtered, just soft lighting, a hoodie, and this sweet, crooked smile that made her seem real. After a couple days of texting, she asked if I wanted to meet up. I was surprised, honestly. Most people ghost by day 2, but she seemed cool, normal. So when she suggested we meet at this park called Millstone Gardens around 10 p.m., I shrugged and said sure. Was it sketchy? Yeah. Did I go anyway? Also, yeah. I pulled up around 9:55. The park was quiet, borderline abandoned. A couple busted lampposts flickered near a picnic area. Trees cast long shadows across the cracked sidewalk. It looked like the opening scene of a low-budget horror movie. Still, I didn't want to be dramatic. I parked, texted her, "Hey, I'm here." She replied almost instantly, "Running 5 minutes late. Meet me by the pond?" I looked around. There was no one, no other cars, no joggers, just me and the faint rustle of leaves in the wind. I texted back, "Heading that way now." I left the safety of my car and started walking down the dirt path toward the pond. The deeper I went, the darker it got. Trees swallowed the path. The air got colder. I kept glancing over my shoulder, telling myself to stop being paranoid. But my gut was screaming. I got to the pond. Nothing. No Rachel. No footsteps. Just still water and the buzz of a nearby street lamp struggling to stay alive. Then, behind me, crunch. Leaves. I spun around and caught a glimpse of movement. Something, or someone, ducked behind the trees. I froze. Then I heard it. An engine. I turned toward the road and saw a black sedan, beat to hell, tail light busted, pulling into the lot. It parked way too close to my car and just sat there idling. No one got out. Something about that car. It felt wrong. Then it happened. Wham! Someone slammed into me from behind. Full force. I hit the dirt, face first, knocking the wind out of me. Before I could react, a heavy weight pressed down on my back. I tried to scream, but a hand clamped over my mouth. I saw his face for half a second. Hoodie, shaved head, cold, empty stare. He grabbed my arms and started dragging me, toward the road, toward the car. He wasn't robbing me. He wasn't threatening me. He was trying to take me. I thrashed with everything I had, kicked, bit, flung my elbow into something soft. He grunted, lost his grip, and I bolted. Didn't think, didn't stop, just ran. Branches slapped my face, roots tried to trip me. My lungs were on fire, but I didn't care. I kept running, zigzagging through the trees like a rabbit trying not to die. I didn't stop until I hit a sidewalk on the far end of the park near an old laundromat. I collapsed next to a busted vending machine and called my friend Marcus, voice shaking, barely making sense. 10 minutes later, he pulled up like a freaking superhero. We went back to get my car. The sedan? Gone. Rachel's profile? Deleted. Vanished like she never existed. I wish I could tell you I reported it and they caught the guy, but I didn't. I didn't even go to the cops. I was embarrassed. Ashamed I let it happen. Afraid they'd think I was being dramatic. But I'll never forget that feeling. Being hunted. I don't use dating apps anymore. Not because they're all bad, but because I now know how easy it is to walk into a trap when all you're looking for is a connection. So if you're reading this, please, if you're meeting someone new, bring a friend. Tell someone where you are. And if anything feels off, leave. Because sometimes the person you're texting isn't the person who shows up. Online dating was never really my thing. I always pictured it as one giant scam full of red flags and creepy dudes who still lived with their moms. But then my coworker's cousin met her husband on a dating app. Got engaged in 6 months. Now they post matching pajama pics every Christmas. So, yeah, I caved. Made a profile, uploaded the best selfies I could find, and jumped headfirst into the algorithmic meat market. After dodging a few "hey sexy" messages, and one dude who listed pickle juice as a personality trait, I matched with a guy named Drew. Seemed normal, worked in IT, liked hiking and sci-fi, didn't send me any emojis shaped like eggplants. It was promising. We messaged back and forth for about a week. Light stuff. Favorite authors, weird pizza combos, that kind of thing. He seemed polite, even a little shy, which felt like a breath of fresh air. Eventually, he asked if I wanted to grab coffee. We picked this little cafe downtown. Hipster place with reclaimed wood tables and baristas who looked like they wrote poetry in Morse code. I showed up early because I'm anxious like that, and grabbed a seat near the window. Drew arrived right on time. No red flags, looked like his pictures. Wore a soft blue button-up and had that non-threatening tech guy who still calls his grandma vibe. So far, so good. We ordered drinks, slid into a corner booth, and started chatting. For the first 30 minutes, it was surprisingly great. Then, it turned. He shifted gears mid-convo, like someone flipped a switch behind his eyes. Suddenly, we weren't talking about favorite books or vacation spots. We were talking about his 5-year plan. Like detailed, creepy detailed. He wanted 3 kids by 35, a White House with Navy shutters in a specific zip code outside Seattle, a dog, a Tesla, and a home office with navy blue walls and matte gold fixtures. I laughed nervously, trying to lighten the mood. Wow, sounds like you've got it all mapped out. He nodded seriously. Then he looked me straight in the eye and said, I'm just trying to find the right person to build it with. And he said it like he'd already picked me. I tried to pivot, asked about his favorite local hiking spots. He didn't bite. Instead, he started listing every ex he's ever had. Like we were doing post-mortems on failed mergers. She wasn't adventurous enough. Too clingy. Didn't align with my goals. She didn't journal, and I think reflection is critical. I sat there gripping my mug like it was the only thing tethering me to earth. It didn't feel like a date anymore. It felt like an interview, and I wasn't even sure I applied for the job. His eyes never left mine. It was like he was mentally pasting my face onto some pre-written script he'd been rehearsing since middle school. I faked a text alert, muttered something about needing to check on my car. He looked confused, like he wasn't finished yet. I smiled. Sorry, quick thing. I'll be right back. I never went back. I practically sprinted to my car, locked the doors, and sat there shaking. The second I drove off, my body finally relaxed. My hands stopped trembling. My brain stopped screaming. But when I got home, it hit me. I had told him where I worked. He asked during our get-to-know-you phase. I thought nothing of it at the time. We were chatting about jobs, but now I was picturing him showing up with a clipboard, or a ring, or worse. I deleted the app, blocked his number, changed the privacy settings on all my socials, and I made a rule. If I ever feel like I'm being auditioned instead of appreciated, I'm out. Because that wasn't a first date, that was a casting call, and I'm not auditioning for a life that's already been written without me. This happened just over a month ago, and I still get a pit in my stomach every time I replay it. So I matched with this girl named Alana on a niche dating app, kind of like Tinder, but specifically for Latin singles. I was using it casually while staying with my cousin near Sierra Verde, a dusty town on the edge of nowhere in New Mexico. I'm 27, delivering for DoorDash part-time to keep the bills from swallowing me whole. The first few messages with Alana were surprisingly smooth. She had a way of making everything feel chill. Low maintenance, not overly flirty, just real. After a few days of messaging, she asked if I could give her a lift to her friend's place in town. Said it was right off my delivery route. I hesitated at first. I mean, picking someone up from a dating app before even meeting them in public? Risky. But she played it off casual, and I figured, screw it. I needed gas money anyway. So I swung by her spot. She hopped in wearing sweats and a hoodie, smelling like cocoa butter and stress. We chatted during the drive. Nothing deep, just music, college stuff, gossip about her roommates. I dropped her off at an apartment complex about 30 minutes away. Seemed normal. Fast forward a few hours, and I'm grinding deliveries on the west side of town when I get a ping from her on WhatsApp. She asks if I can scoop her again. Said she and her friend were heading to her friend's mom's house about 10 minutes away. But she needed a ride. Cool. I told her to send her PIN. But then, 30 minutes later, another message comes through, and this one's different. Hey, I left my purse at my friend's place. This guy said he'd give me a ride back, but he's not going that way. I'm kind of freaking out. She sends a live location right after, and it's not 10 minutes away. It's on the outskirts of town. barely lit roads, dirt lots, boarded up buildings. She drops the make and model too, gray pickup truck. I'm already moving. Didn't even think. The location keeps shifting every couple minutes. They're not parked, they're circling. It turns into this messed up real-life car chase, except they don't know I'm behind them. I finally spot them near one of those shady drive-through liquor stores. Beat-up truck, busted taillight. I keep my distance watching. And then the truck suddenly pulls over. Alana throws open the passenger door and books it, sprints straight into the street, waving both arms like she's flagging down a rescue helicopter. I slam my brakes, swing the wheel, and stop just in time for her to jump in. She's sobbing, shaking, mumbling something I couldn't fully catch, but I didn't wait to ask. I floored it. We were gone before the guy even stepped out of the truck. Once we hit the main road, she finally let it all out. Apparently, when she realized she forgot her purse, one of her friend's cousins, who she didn't really know, offered to drive her back to get it. Only, he didn't. He started driving the opposite direction, deep into the outskirts. She asked him to turn around. He laughed. She asked again. He locked the doors. That's when she started texting me, low-key, without trying to set him off. And that's when I realized she hadn't matched with me for a date. She matched with me to save herself. I didn't press her for details. She was in full shutdown mode. I drove her to a public place, stayed parked there with her until she calmed down, and made sure she had someone to come get her. She never called the cops. And I didn't push. Not everyone's ready for that step right away, especially when they've been through something terrifying. We haven't talked since that night. She unmatched me the next day and deleted her profile. Honestly, I don't blame her. That wasn't about dating anymore. That was survival. I don't know what would have happened if she hadn't sent me that pin. But I'm glad I showed up.